Hello, we'll be starting the session. Hello, I hope you all can hear me. I'll just confirm if the audio is clear and I'll continue the session. Just a second. Okay, thank you. So let's start with this session. I just wanted to ensure if my audio is reaching YouTube as well. I'm pretty sure it's reaching the Google Meet because the session is getting recorded simultaneously. So it is a very interesting agenda for today, how to prepare for pre-board exams. So as students of grade 10, pretty sure that you guys are very new to this concept of pre-board exams. Although it is called a pre-board exam, should we take it in the seriousness of a board exam? This is what we'll be checking today. So there are just some few instructions I'd like to tell before I get into today's session. I'd request everyone's mics to be turned off because this session is getting streamed simultaneously. So yeah. And also we'll have a session at the end if you have any questions, so you can ask your questions at the end, so the session won't be interrupted. So we'll be starting with how should I study, how to stay focused. We have certain questions like that. Certain questions, I had also mentioned these in the promo of today's meeting, so I'll make sure all the points are covered here, and I'm pretty sure most of your doubts will be cleared by the end of this session. How should I study? This is a very interesting question. Why it is interesting? Because if you ask me, I'll have a different answer. If you ask someone else, they'll have something else to tell you. So the most important, what I feel, the most important topic, I'll just generalize the topic. I'll try to cover everything. But yes, the most important according to me is the atmosphere you study in. Okay? Be it your table should be in a very spacious place, or maybe when you sit to study, you should have everything that you require to study in front of you. Once you sit in a place, you shouldn't have to get up to, take anything else. Like all your stationaries, devices, chargers. I stopped studying few years back, like my 10th grade got over few years back. So I'm not sure if I've, really put in everything here, but if you feel like there's something more that you require, you can put that also. Now, the second point is to-do list. This is also a very general thing to say. I have not exactly started the topic of how should I study, but I'll just summarize this as well. A to-do list, the main thing, everyone is familiar with the topics of to-do lists, but the main thing that people miss out on to-do lists is they forget to put in the times, like from this time slot to this time slot, I'll be doing so and so thing. That time slots are very important because only then you'll be able to manage your time well. So this is another important thing you have to take care of while studying. The third thing is your mindset. When you sit to study, you shouldn't have anything else in your head. Like maybe the psychological aspect of this is like you have all heard the topic of multitasking, isn't it? Multitasking is when you actually do things, but your mind cannot multitask. Your mind needs to focus on something while doing it. If you have a lot of thoughts, if your head is clouded, then it will affect your productivity. If you lose your focus, if you lose your interest, you lose your determination. If you're just doing it for the sake of doing it, you won't be able to do anything. So that determination should be there throughout, and your end goal is your CBSE examination. Although this is a session of pre-boards, I'll ultimately reach to board exam, and yeah, this is being discussed in detail later on. So when I come there, I'll tell you. Now, pre-board 1, this session will be completely based on maths, okay? Grade 10 math. But yeah, some of the examples are not related to math, but still I'll use them to, I'll let you know. Let's get into it. So pre-board 1, before pre-board 1, you should be able to complete your entire NCERT textbook. This acts as a foundation for your entire CBSE board examination preparation, because without completing your NCERT textbook, you won't be able to do any other questions. You will get stuck in a lot of places if your base is not clear. Once you finish your textbook and then you start your sample papers, you'll understand how easy it is to do more and more questions. One sec. Alright, so as I was saying, Preboard 1 NCERT textbook is a must, okay? So in your NCERT textbook itself, you have a lot of questions, like you have NCERT textbook questions, then you have your solved examples, exercise questions, everything is equally important. Theorems and proofs, these are repeatedly asked in your board exams, but yet people fail to give it as much as importance as they give other questions. The funny thing is that the answer of these questions, these theorems, are already there in your textbook. Let's say, for example, in the chapter circles, in the chapter triangles, all these chapters you have theorems. So make sure you know how to approach these theorems. And theorems have, there's a particular way in which you write theorems. You need to learn literally everything in your NCERT textbook. This one full book should be thorough. Literally every single line should have been covered before Preboard 1. Okay, Preboard 1 is not entirely NCERT. NCERT is a prerequisite of your Preboard 1 preparation. You also have to do sample papers. I'll get into that. We'll be discussing that in detail. Yeah. So the next thing is, this is where how should I study exactly begins. Okay, this is something I have not seen much on YouTube or anything. This is something I'm telling from experience. So you have to make a list of chapters. Now you'll be asking, all these are there in my NCERT textbook. This is just the index copy pasted. Yeah, literally this is the index copy pasted. But what exactly I'm going to do next is going to be very important. See, I'm taking examples of real numbers and polynomials. You have to take your textbook and go through it and literally list down each and every topic that is there in that textbook, in that chapter. Fundamental theorem of arithmetic, factorization. Then you have, all these are the contents of that chapter. And now what are these ticks and these percentages? So here we have, this is just, you can change this according to whatever you want, but see, this is out of 3. Fundamental theorem of arithmetic. I'm a pro in that concept. I don't have to revise that anymore. Even if they ask 3 questions or 4 questions, or even if they give me a 3-mark question from this topic, I'll be able to get full marks. That confidence should be there. If you are really confident, give yourself 3 out of 3. Factorization, HCF and LCM. Again, it's a very strong concept for me. So 3 out of 3. But prove that root 3 is irrational. Okay. Last time when I wrote that for PT2 or something, I lost 1 mark. Why? Because I messed up a step. So I am not very confident about that one concept. So what am I doing here? I'm listing out everything and I am rating myself out of 3 out of in percentages. This is for my, my own reference. Honestly speaking, this takes a lot of time, but trust me, each minute you've put into this is worth it. Each minute you put into this is worth it. And the best part of this list is that this list will never end. Why does it not end? Because once you're done with the NCERT textbook, you will start solving sample papers. Okay? Now, when you solve a sample paper, you will come across new questions, not new concepts, but new questions. Like for example, in trigonometry, when questions are asked with certain, like let's say you have a chapter and you're familiar with it, you are like a pro at it, but still when a question came you weren't able to do, like let's say a case studies of trigonometry, you're pretty weak at it. So what do you have to do? Trigonometry case studies, you have to put it in this and you have to rate yourself like this is where I stand. Why is this important? This is important when you make timetables for yourself. When you make timetables, you have to take your weak concepts first. You need to finish your weak concepts first as you go ahead. So first cover up the weak concepts and then approach your strong concepts. By that, what are you doing? You are literally mastering your weak concepts and you are making yourself prepared for the board exam. Why am I not saying pre-board? I'll come to that in a while. Okay. Now this is just an example of what I used to do. I couldn't find my maths schedule. This was done for social science, I believe. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're all familiar with these chapters, so I don't have to give you intro. It's up to you. What my point is that you guys can. One sec. I'm not very familiar with this. That's why there's a pause in between. I'm really sorry about it. Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. Okay, this is where we were. So I couldn't find my maths schedule. So I just showed you what I did for social science. Like, what is this 23 out of 33? See, I have decided that for my pre-board exam, I will only do printed notes. In my school, we got printed notes. So in that chapter, Nationalism in Europe, I had 33 questions in the printed notes. I have completed 23 out of 33. Okay, this is not exactly in terms of what this is not exactly where I stand. This is what I have completed. So you can decide it yourself. You guys have that freedom. You can do whatever you want. You are studying. So do what you feel like, you make it easier, make studying easier for yourself. So what I have done here is, I have written what I have completed, 23 questions out of 33, 20 questions out of 32. Then another thing, those emojis indicate I have not started those chapters. So similarly, you can also, make use of points. Like, why am I sticking on to concepts here in maths is because concepts, you cannot just generalize a chapter in math, because within a chapter itself, there could be easy concepts and tough concepts. That's not the case of other subjects. We'll stick on to maths for this session, but I couldn't find the example for math, that's why I put in there. Now, the most important thing is to review your mistakes. What do I mean by reviewing your mistakes? You guys have written a lot of exams, right? Like PT1, PT2, PT3, half yearly. You guys have written 4 exams. And I think you guys have written tests or something in your tuitions, in your schools or something. You have to go find all your answer papers. That's your first task. Find all your answer papers and your question papers. You have to keep that in front of you. Take your previous list, this list, okay? Take both of them and you have to start updating this list. Where did you lose mark? Okay, I lost a mark here, MCQ. Oh my god, calculation mistake. If you are very sure that you know that concept, but it was a silly mistake, then don't waste your time there. just understand that mistake and try not to repeat that mistake again. But in the third question, oh my god, the entire formula is wrong. That means there that means I lack what? I lack conceptual clarity. So in that case, I have to revise that entire formula, entire concept. For that, what should I do? I should write it down somewhere. I should rate myself out of 10, out of 100, whatever. I should have that idea. Okay, this is a weak concept for me. Next time when this comes for an exam, I will be able to ace it. That confidence should be there. How will you make a note of everything? You need to maintain a notebook. Why exactly a notebook? Because this notebook should last till your board exam. If you are going to write in a paper, you have approximately 3 months left for your board exam. I don't know how long that paper would last. And why paper? Why not a computer based thing? When you actually write, you feel like doing something. That's why I suggest a notebook. Or you can also maintain an Excel sheet or whatever you want, but it should be systematically updated. It should be maintained properly. This is a very important thing. Reviewing your mistakes are super important, because chances are that you will make the same mistake again and again. This has happened to me. I made a mistake in Preboard 1. Same question came in Preboard 2. I made the same exact mistake in Preboard 2. The regret you will have, when you see your paper, is intense. It's insane. So I hope that you guys don't do. You guys listen to what I say and actually make a notebook and don't repeat your mistakes. Now we'll go to the second topic. How to stay focused. This is a very tricky question. This is a very, the best part of this question is that you guys already know the answer. But still, that motivation, that levels of motivation goes up and down. So depending on that, your productivity also goes down. When I talk about how to stay focused, everyone knows, what is preventing you from staying focused. It's definitely this thing, isn't it? It's definitely your mobile phone. But is it just your mobile phone? Maybe your thoughts, your overthinkings, your stuff in your head. It could all be factors that could prevent you from, being focused. As I said before, your mind cannot perform if it's clouded. You need to be focused. And how to stay focused? This thing should not be there while you study. Okay, no matter what excuses you give, your WhatsApp groups are in this, or your teacher will send a message in this, or your PDFs are in this. You guys yourself know it is not a valid excuse. So let's not talk about that. There are n number of distractions. You name it. Literally, I have not covered everything. There could be much more than what you see on the screen. But how do you avoid distractions? When you study, your mobile should be having 0 notifications. Otherwise also, a grade 10 student's mobile phone should have 0 notifications. Be it your Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, Messenger, whatever it is. There shouldn't be any notifications. Notifications are for those, people where it is extremely important for them to see the message and, revert back. When you're working in an office, when you're managing a business, that is when you need spontaneous replies and all that. As of now, you guys don't require spontaneous replies or notifications. Your priority, at least for these 3 months, should be your academics. For that, whatever is preventing you from getting marks, from scoring well, you need to recognize that and you need to put an end to it. Okay? Now, you guys would think, it's just another debate, another lecture on staying focused, or what is this boomer saying? I know, it feels like that. It's just really boring to hear this. But think about it. When you get your results and you actually, if you get something like a 97 or a 96 in your boards, in your pre-boards, wouldn't you feel proud of yourself? Wouldn't you have that sort of satisfaction? This end goal should be there in your head. All these notifications can come after 3 months. You guys get, a short break after that. You guys have 11th grade to enjoy. 10th standard board exam, do not risk. Okay, so mute your notifications for a while. When you sit to study, try to keep your mobile phone away. One trick I used to do when I used to study is that, I was also very addicted to my mobile phone. So I also wanted to, keep on checking my mobile phone. I had that temptation. Even while studying, my mobile would be there. Okay, who texted me? Or, then it would go to Reels. Then it would go to, oh my god, YouTube Shorts. I feel like Instagram is, addicting, so I'll go to YouTube Shorts. This cycle, you're trapped in it. You won't get out of it. This, to avoid that, what I did was, I just started recording myself while studying. This is just for your reference, okay? I'm not telling you to record, but this is one thing I used to do. But when I sit to study, okay, I just record myself. Not every time, but yeah, that was like very late at night. That was something at 12:30. Okay, so I wanted to really focus. So this is the only method I found by distracting myself. No, not exactly distracting myself. Yeah, distracting myself away from the mobile phone. So the mobile phone is working there, it's recording me, so I cannot do anything else other than studying. So this is one thing I used to do to stay away from my mobile phone, but yet it was nearby me. You could also, take similar precautions, or you have to identify, you have to find your own solutions to actually stay focused. Again, I'm telling you, answer to these questions would be different for everyone. I am generalizing the concepts and I'm sharing my experience here as well. If you're interested to follow what I say, you're most welcome to follow it. Now, our main agenda for today was Preboard. Is Preboard important? This is a very commonly asked question among 10th graders. 12th graders would still have an idea of what is Preboard, how important Preboard is, but in the eyes of a 10th grade student, what is pre-board? That itself answers the question. Pre-board. Why am I emphasizing on board? Okay, don't get scared, but you guys have only nearly approximate dates, okay, 20 days for your first pre-board examination, and after that 50 days for your next pre-board. So literally 20 days, then 10 days for your exams. Like there are 2 days holidays and you have preparatory holidays. In UAE there are 3 days holidays in some Emirates. So after all that, you'll approximately take 10 days to write your exams. 20 days and 10 days, 30 days already gone. Then you have another 20 days. If you decide to take pre-boards lightly, what will happen is, at the end of 20 plus 10 and then 50, 50 is a cumulative number, okay? So it includes from today till January 1st week. So that's 50 days. And then 10 days for your exams. Nearly 60 days. If you take these 60 days lightly, you will have only 30 days left for your board exam. Is 30 days enough for you to prepare from scratch for your board exams? I don't think so, because you guys are writing exams for 5 subjects. 30 days, 30 divided by 5, 6 days. Is 6 days enough for you to cover each subject? Like for example, you have 14 chapters in math, and if you simply cover NCERT itself, do you think this time is enough for you? You also have to cover sample papers. When will you do all this? So my question to you is, can you skip pre-boards and score well in boards? My answer to that, I'll myself answer, because I don't want interruptions right now. So I'll answer that right now. I'd say no, because if you are going to take pre-boards lightly, you will end up having very little time left for your boards. By the time of your first pre-board, you should have completed at least, you should have touched all the concept at least once. There shouldn't be an unfamiliar topic. You should have revised literally a little bit of everything before you appear for your first pre-board. Now, once you're done with your first pre-board exam, you have a clear idea of what you have prepared well for your pre-board 1. Now, in that less days, in nearly 20 days you have, in those 20 days, you have to focus well on your pre-board 2. By the time pre-board 2 gets over, your second revision of your, all the subjects should get over. Right now I'm talking about maths, but still all the subjects, second revision should get over. See, why I'm not mentioning math often is because if I only give you a agenda for math, it will affect your other subjects. I don't want to do that, because like when a subject teacher teaches, they'll come and they'll just focus on that particular subject. The other subjects are all secondary for them. So when they come, their priority is that one subject. When the other teachers come, they are also emphasizing on their particular subject. They don't really want to know about what's happening in the other subjects. So the burden is completely on the child. That's why I am looking from the top, okay, I'm generalizing topics, okay. So you have to take this very seriously, okay. 20, then 10 days, then the next 20 days, again 10 days, then you have 30 days. So plan yourself. When you scroll on Instagram next time, or when you watch reels, or when you go to YouTube shorts, just remember these numbers: 20 days, 50 days, 90 days. Is this enough? Maybe, may not be. It depends on you. But you should start focusing right now. Okay? Now, our next most important question is sample papers. Which sample paper should I solve? When should I start solving sample papers? My answer would be, what sample paper you solve does not matter. There are a lot of publications. You will have MTG, you will have Exam Idea. There are a lot of publications. But which publication you follow does not really matter. What matters is how you solve that sample paper. When you are solving a question, are you able to apply everything that you've learned once? When you should have a formula sheet. I should have mentioned that earlier, but you should have a formula sheet. When you prepare for your board exam, when you prepare for your pre-board exam, when you do your NCERT revision itself, when you go through each questions, or when you cover each concepts, you should have a formula sheet that should be there with you till the end of your 10th standard. Okay? Even one day before the board exam, you should be able to refer to that formula sheet. It should be handwritten, number one. It should be made by yourself. If you refer to someone else's formula sheet, the efficiency is very less. I'm speaking with experience. You need to write the formula. Like for example, maybe in math it might not be a problem, but when it comes to other subjects, like for example physics or something, you have just a lot of formulas. Like for example, let's say focal length, focal length. You have 1 by f is equal to 1 by v minus 1 by u. If you simply write 1 by f is equal to 1 by v minus 1 by u, what is f, what is v, what is u? All that you have to mention. For example, m is equal to minus hi by ho. Okay? So if you simply list down a lot of formulas, and if you don't know how to use them, then there is no point of making a formula sheet at all. So what you have to do is, you need to write it in your own words, in a way you understand. You should understand that concept first and then make your formula sheets. And this should be maintained properly till the end of your grade 10. And it is super important for you to have this, handwritten. Because if it is someone else's printed, you might not be able to focus. On the last day, if you see your own handwriting, and it's actually it is an unexpressible feeling, like okay, I've already covered all this. When you see a lot of work that you have already written in your own handwriting, you will feel confident. Yes, I've actually done something, I've studied something, I got this sort of feeling will come. Trust me, when you go for your board exam, if you have your formula sheet, just revising in the morning, casually revising, you've done everything, you've done your part, you're just simply going through it, you will be able to ace it. Okay, it is not a hard paper at all. Board exams are generally easier than all the other exams you write. So do not lose focus, be systematic, and do your part. The rest will follow. Now, why sample papers are important? It gives you a good idea of how to manage time, good idea of how much each section would take. This is super important because my motto, I don't know if you guys have watched my previous video, but I'll still summarize what I've said there. When you prepare for your board exam, your time management skills are super important. Your motto should be 1 mark is equal to 2 minutes. I'll do another video in detail about this later on, but I'll just summarize what it is all about. 1 mark is equal to 2 minutes. You have a 180 minutes paper, 3-hour paper, of which you have like if you follow this motto, 1 mark is equal to 2 minutes, then you have 80 into 2, 160 minutes. If you systematically follow this, even while solving sample papers, your board exam will be just like any other exam. You will easily clear it, you will be familiar with it. So don't really worry about your pre-board exams. If you solve enough, if you have enough practice, then it should be a very simple thing. And writing practice, especially for math, okay? Math cannot be learned. You cannot take your book to the bed and study math, okay? You might be able to do that for English, not science, not math. If you take your SST book to the bed, you will fall asleep in 10 minutes, okay? So especially math, you cannot take your book to the bed. You should sit on a chair. There should be a table in front of you. You should have your books, your laptop or whatever in front of you, and you should do math, okay? And while doing math also, it is not recommended that you look at the answers and keep solving. That is another miserable thing one can do, okay? Because your thinking skills should be developed, okay? That's the whole point of solving new questions. When you solve a new sample paper, you will come across new questions. You will come across questions that are difficult. But if you directly look at its answer or its marking scheme, there's no point. You are not even trying to think. You should be able to think. You should try, fail. Finally, if you still don't get, then check, okay? Without trying, do not check the answers. Because when you check the answer, yeah, this is familiar, okay, I know this topic, I know this, you know everything, then why are you not getting 80 out of 80? That is just because of lack of practice. If you get a new question, you should be able to answer it. Because in the board exam, the questions won't be out of syllabus, but it will be brand new questions. Like at least for the past 2 years, the questions are completely new, okay? The format is also updated. Like last year, you guys are following the same format as 2023, but still the questions are not directly asked from past year papers or anything. My recommendation is solve as many questions as you can, okay? At least before your pre-boards, if you solve a lot of questions, the benefit is that at least in schools, teachers don't really make new questions. That is what is done by CBSE. At least in your school level, teachers will take past year questions or NCERT exemplar or directly from NCERT. Preboard 1, focus on NCERT, okay? But other than that, your questions will be taken from NCERT exemplar. You guys have, what is it called? There's a new thing called comprehension, right? I think it is that. That is also very important. You have to familiarize yourself with a lot of new questions. See, the thing is that when you see that same question again, you should be able to answer. Or when you see that same logic again, you should be able to answer. This is the whole point of solving new questions, okay? And reviewing mistakes. I said that in detail earlier. Now, familiarizing question patterns, exploring new questions. I think I've covered all this. If you feel like I've not covered it enough, you can ask again in the interactive session. Now, I just summarized this entire topic earlier. Again, pre-board exam. Why I have put this again? See, here I have said here in the review your mistakes part, I have said PT exam, half yearly exam, all these exams, okay? In the same list, you should be able to add more questions. I mean, I'm not encouraging you to make mistakes. I'm saying that if you find new concepts or unfamiliar questions, you should be able to add. For this, you need to maintain a notebook, okay? Because I don't think a paper would last more than 3 weeks or 4 weeks, unless you stick it somewhere. Okay, or you can maintain an Excel sheet. That is up to you. That's totally up to you. You have the liberty to do what you want. At the end of the day, you should be happy with how you prepare. Okay, now I'd like to launch the Math Magic online test series. We are planning to conduct 5 live pre-board examination. It will be live examinations conducted. We'll conduct a video conference, and there will be a 3-hour timer set, 3 hours 15 minutes, 15 minutes reading time, and 3 hours exam. You can write the exam. You can scan your papers and send. It will be evaluated. All the 5 papers will be evaluated, and there will be a live doubt clearance session to discuss all your doubts from these questions, and if you have any conceptual clarity. These are some of the demos that we have conducted for you to experience our online test series. We'll be releasing sample papers again. As last year we have released about 3 sample papers, and the year before that 4 sample papers, and the sample papers have got nearly 15,000 downloads in 2021, and in 2022 it got 20,000 downloads. So I had conducted these. If you were part of the WhatsApp groups, you would have seen these messages come up very often, where the answer paper was evaluated and sent back. Now, when will this test series be? These are the approximate dates. Why these dates? Because most of you all have your exams, your pre-board exams, the first week of December, okay, and your second pre-board exams in the first week of January. So after your pre-board 1, you get sufficient time to prepare yourself, to correct yourself, to review your mistakes, to solve enough sample papers, to practice yourself, to actually have a great experience of writing an examination. There will be 5 exams conducted on 26, 27, 28, 29 and 30. These are approximate dates, and if everyone if everyone agrees to have, we'll form a group. If everyone agrees to have it on a different day, then we can definitely have. The price of this test series would be 1,500 rupees for all the 5 sample papers, the evaluation, the feedback, and the live doubt clearance session after the evaluation. Why is it after the evaluation? So that you can read your paper, you can understand, you can go through the feedbacks and then ask your doubts. Okay, the marking scheme, the question papers, everything will be sent to you guys. Okay, so this is just a summary. Your efforts will bear fruit. Okay, so you need to be consistent. Do not let any hindrance, do not let anything come in between you and achieving your goal. You need to be determined. You should be focused. If you are determined enough, and if you have that end goal set, nothing can stop you. Nothing can stop you. You can reach high. Okay, so all the very best. You can ask your questions, if any. Okay, I'll go to the meet right now. If you have any questions, you can ask now. Anything related to pre-boards, any sort of questions? What is the quickest way of preparing if you have less time? Okay, you have 20 days now. Okay, what you have to do is, see, first of all, the thing is that you shouldn't have less time. Okay, this question should be posed when you have less time. Right now you have 20 days ahead of you. Do not waste these days and focus on the last 5 or 10 days or something. You need to give equal importance. You need to prepare yourself well. There is something called minimum learning material, which is available for 10th and 12th, but I wouldn't recommend it. None of y'all are basic students. None of y'all are weak students. I don't know why people have that misconception of calling themselves a weak student or something. When you have less time, what you have to do is, okay, you need to make sure that all the concepts that you are sure of, you are very sure of those concepts. Okay, make sure that you don't lose marks in those concepts that you are very sure of. Don't explore new concepts when you have very less time. By very less time, I mean 1 day or 2 day. Okay, if you have very less time like that, brush up, revise what you know, formula sheet, make that formula sheet, properly maintain that formula sheet, because this will last till the end. With experience, I'm telling you, I think I have my formula sheet of grade 10 and grade 12 somewhere over here, but still, I'm telling you, this should last till the end. Revise through your formula sheets, do the concepts you know, do not panic in the last minute. Okay, and you should not have less time before boards. Okay, you have a do your preparation. And yes, the minimum learning material is another option where all the concepts are simply touched. Like, yeah, I can share the link of that in the groups. I hope you are there in the group. This is very time consuming method. Is there any less time consuming version of this method? Oh, are you talking about the first method? Okay, no problem. I'll go there. No problem. Okay, I think you're talking about this. Is it? Naya Unnatkar. Okay, I'm going to assume that she was asking about that concept. So maybe for maths, I would suggest you to have this clearly maintained. See, it is a time consuming thing, I understand that, but if you sit today after this session or something, if you sit today, you open your NCRT textbook, you open a notepad sheet or something, you write the first chapter, the heading of the chapter, there are hardly, okay, another thing I missed out to say is use the 2023-2024 rationalized textbook. Okay, it's easier to skip topics, like not skip topics, you don't have to sit and check if it's deleted or not in your textbooks. You can go through it and simply write down. Make sure that you do this. And one more thing is that you guys have written PT1, PT2, PT3 half yearly, so you guys have at least touched some of the chapters that are there for your exam. You're not completely unfamiliar to these chapters. It's not that you don't know anything in these chapters. So there would be certain topics that you are pretty good at, or you have already studied. It's okay if you don't really know any chapter. It's totally fine. You still have time. But you need to make use of this time, because this time would not come back. Tomorrow onwards, today is the 10th of November. Tomorrow it will be 11th. That 20 would become 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14. Days will go very fast, quicker than you think. You guys also have to sleep for 7 to 8 hours. You'll be in school for 7 hours. You'll have tuitions for 2 hours. You will have a lot of work to do. So these 20 days are also not really, you don't really get those 20 days for yourself, for self-study. No matter how many classes you attend, no matter how many YouTube videos you watch, no matter how many tuitions you attend, you will not get marks unless you do self-study. These are all important. I'm not saying it's bad or anything. You should go attend classes. You should listen to your classes. You should write down. You should make notes. But self-study, that should be done by yourself. If that is not done, then nothing else would help you, because what actually helps you understand your class concepts, your school concepts, your tuition concepts, everything is your self-study. If you study what is being done in school that day itself, you wouldn't have this problem. Now that there is very less time, make sure that you attend. I think revision is going on in most of the schools, in tuitions also, I think. Go with it, okay? When a concept is being revised, come home and study that concept. Make sure you leave enough, you plan yourself accordingly, because you have 5 subjects. Okay, you need to plan yourself accordingly, because at the end you will not have much time. So for that you need to, suppose I take a concept of history. The chapters are really lengthy. So how do I memorize all those, including the topics like GODP, etc.? Okay, not as an expert, as a student who have finished this, I'll tell you. Okay, for history, you know why history is easy? Is history easy? Okay, I'm going to say it's easy, unlike math. Okay, okay, there are people who are disagreeing with me, but why is history easy? Because there is nothing that they can ask out of syllabus or anything. It is already there somewhere in the textbook, but the bulk that you have to study is a lot. I agree with that. Okay, what can you do to memorize? You have to make points. For history, this is what I used to do. For me, it was printed notes. Okay, everything was in points. So it was, I used to, if you sit and study a chapter in a day, you'll end up forgetting the chapter in the next day. You need to, assign, okay, this unit I'll cover today, or maybe the first 2 units of this. Mix and study. Mix and study. Plan yourself. This is why the to-do list is important. You need to know what your goals for the next day is. Today night I will make my to-do list for tomorrow morning, for the entire day of tomorrow. So when I wake up tomorrow, I am not clueless about what I have to do. Okay, so if I have that sort of planning, then these questions wouldn't be there, like a question of not having time. Now, how do you memorize? You have to make points, you have to understand, and you have to learn. Another thing I used to do is, like, for example, if there were 5 points, I used to highlight the keywords, just the keywords, okay? And I used to take down the first letter of the keyword, and I used to make a word with it. I remember one of the word was GATT, G-A-T-T. I think it was, no, it was, there was a word called BRICS, okay, B-R-I-C-S. I think it was Britain, Russia, Italy, I'm not very sure, okay. These are some things you can do. You can use mnemonics, you can, abbreviate big words, you can make keynotes. And most important thing to do, what I would suggest is, you should make your own notes, okay. You should write it down on your own. Only then when you revise, when you come back to it, you will feel familiar. Or if making points and writing it down is a hideous task, if it is difficult, then take your textbook, underline, write in your textbook. I used to do this for my chemistry concepts. I used to do this. I used to write in the textbook itself. When I used to solve sample papers, when I see a question, I used to go to that concept in the textbook and I used to write it over there. CBSE 2013 question, CBSE 2016 question. So when you do this properly, when you revisit the concepts, you'll feel more and more familiar. But how to memorize all that? This is what I used to do. Underline the keywords, make short points, so that you're not unfamiliar when you come back to it. It'll be easier for you to remember these small words than big paragraphs. And try to make your own points, or maybe type it out. It doesn't matter. Type it out and print it out and then write on it. Okay, but your writing part should be there. Only then you will be able to actually recollect what you have learned before. Only if you see your some scribbling, or not exactly scribbling, your annotations on that sheet, you will be able to recollect it better. What if I have less time to study history? What to do at that time where you don't have time to make notes? In that case, you can, actually, what I told you about taking your textbook and writing down notes, right? You can do that. That is one option. Even if you are studying a subject like history, if you have notes like of someone else's notes, do not learn from a PDF file, okay? Have that thing printed with you. Have the hard copy in front of you. Write down on it. Make points on it. Underline the important part on it. Like literally, I exactly don't remember what it was. If I find those notes, I'll share it in the WhatsApp group. I guess you guys are there. If it's not, if anyone not there in the WhatsApp group, you can ask. I'll send the link. No issues. Any other questions, guys? 1 sec, I'll just check the stream here. Okay. No questions then, no problem. I hope the session was helpful. Is there anything I've missed out on, or is there anything you didn't really understand, or is there any concept that I forgot to, you know, cover? Or your feedback would be really helpful so that, you know, I can improve next time. And yes, this is my first live on YouTube, so I'm really sorry. I am not very familiar with the switching part and everything. I'm single-handedly managing this today's live. So thank you so much for your feedback, Netransh. If there are no more questions, so we can end for today. And if there are any questions, if you face any sort of difficulty, I'll put my email ID in the chat. You can always send an email. I'll address it in the group, or I'll address it personally if it's a personal message, no problem. And also, you can contact me on WhatsApp on this number 79071849118. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rohit. You guys can leave. Thank you.